guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip? Try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
What's up, everyone? This is In-Game Live Game Day here on SportsGrid. Smarter to be on SportsGrid. Hopefully, we'll prove that to you over the next couple hours. I am Adam Kaufman. We will be joined in just a little bit by my partner in crime here tonight and tomorrow as well. Much like last night, Scott Wetzel, of course. Heck, really, this is his show. Let's be honest. I'm in for Dave Sharapan. So it is wonderful to have you here with us, whether you are watching across SportsGrid TV, SportsGrid Radio, Sirius XM channel 159, however you are consuming the content. We are thrilled to have you. We're going to get into some baseball a little bit later on. It's not quite the slate that we had yesterday with the day baseball. Much is already done. Some games in progress, but nothing getting started too late, unfortunately. And then on top of that, the main attractions. We have Game 2, Eastern Conference Finals, Stanley Cup Playoffs, Florida at Carolina, starting up momentarily in just a little bit. As well, we will have Game 2, Western Conference Finals in the NBA with Oklahoma City looking for a 2-0 home lead on the Minnesota Timberwolves. Spoiler alert, I think they get it. First, though, we got to react to what happened last night after we were on the air. We spent so much time sweating out, dissecting, telling you in-game how we'd bet this, how we'd bet that, as it relates to Indiana and New York in the opener of their Eastern Conference Finals matchup. And talk about an exhilarating finish. Indiana, there was no sweat when it came to the total in this game. Remember, it was around 221.5 going into the game. It was at 250 at regulation, and it finished with Indiana winning 138-135 in overtime. Tack on those extra 23 points. But of course, that's not the story. The story is how it got to overtime. And my goodness, I can't think of a time in my entire life. I mean, people want to compare it to the Kawhi Leonard shot, but honestly, this was better. Tyrese Halliburton, after looking to tie up the game late in regulation, he thought, nope, rather than the short jumper, I'm going to create some room for myself. I'm going to head out behind the three-point line. I'm going to hoist up a shot. Unfortunately, foot was on the line, but that ball, back rims, goes straight up in the air like, I don't even know, 7-8 feet, and comes right back down like the hand of God himself was putting that ball in the hoop, telling us we are going to get more basketball. And the way that these underdog Pacers have been playing here in these playoffs. How about some numbers for you? And there's all kinds of great ones that were floating around at the end of that game last night. But this one, really, it's up there anyway, as far as that comeback goes. Playoff record when trailing by 7 to 9 points with 90 seconds less or less left in a game. The Pacers this year are 3-0. Over the last 25 years, every other team won and 698. You are seeing something. I mean, talk like I was saying cardiac Pacers. Someone tweeted me, they go pacemakers, and that is dead on. The Pacers, their survival ability right now, the way that they are doing this, it is insane. And I hope, as we talked about yesterday, you got in on Indiana series because those numbers are no longer available to you. We'll preview game 2 a little bit later on, but Scott is here. Let's bring him in. And Scott, I know just to stay to form, we'll talk more about this game in a little bit, but to stay to form what you normally do here on this program and here specifically in this part of the show, I don't want to get in your way, man. We got some trends to give the people.
Yep, time for our 5 on the line, 5 best trends for the games that are either just getting underway or will be shortly right here on the grid. All right, we went 3-2 yesterday. We won with the over Indiana Knicks. We hit with the Angels, who won again this afternoon, oh, by the way. And then we hit with Philadelphia, the Phillies against Colorado, which also won this afternoon. We lost with Arizona and the Dodgers going under. There's no way that game was going over 9 runs. The trend said over, and then under in the hockey game, we lost on that. But 3-2, not bad. We will take that. We are now 36 games over 500 if you played every single one of these plays. So with that said, let's get to tonight's action. We got 5 on the line. Here we go. Number 5 in descending order. Going to start with hockey. Carolina hosting Florida. Adam, Carolina has now lost, believe it or not, 13 straight conference finals games dating back to 20 years ago. 0-9 with Rod Brindamore, their great head coach, in charge. So it's not just been everyone else. 0-13, for goodness sake. So I don't get in front of those kind of streaks. Where are we going to go? Let's go Florida Panthers plus 105 at Carolina to take game 2 tonight.
I'm tempted to go with Florida with the plus money simply because, again, plus money and the fact that game 1 was so dominant. These Panthers have been in the Stanley Cup final each of the last 2 years. They are the defending champs. I don't want to bet it, though, because something tells me Carolina, especially at home, and desperation on the line to truly make this a series, is going to find a way to get the split.
Yeah, you would think so. But trends say no. NHL number 4 as well. Obviously, we only get the one game. We're limited tonight with our schedule, right? Only get the one NBA, the one hockey, and then one baseball game, believe it or not. So let's go hockey, delve into some shots on goals. Sam Bennett, Florida, has 2 shots on goal in 10 of his last 12 playoff games this postseason, obviously. So get a little juice on this one. This is one you could throw in a parlay, but let's go Sam Bennett, 2 shots on goal or more at minus 345. Little parlay piece for you.
Well, you're right. Ton of juice. You're not going to play it straight. It's definitely a parlay leg, but I like it. I definitely support it. I think, and we've seen it dating back to the Maple Leaf series. We saw it in game 1 against the Hurricanes. I think the Panthers in general, they're not getting cute. They're not cycling around the perimeter looking for the perfect shot. They're just firing on net, and I think Bennett's a part of it.
All right, number 3 on our countdown, NBA. We got Oklahoma City taking on Minnesota. How about a little prop on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander? He scored 31 or more points in 8 of his last 10 playoff games. Over 30.5. Might be up to 31.5 now, but we'll go over 30.5 Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
So here's the thing with SGA, the MVP, by the way. He barely got there. He had 31 points back in game 1, but he took 27 shots and also went to the free throw line for 14 attempts. I would support that over. I'd play it. I think the volume, even if it's not there to the tune of 27, he continues to get into the line with the controversial foul baiting that he and Jalen Brunson do so well. SGA is going to help lead his team to yet another win.
Yeah, he's actually had 31 a couple of times, so you may want to go 30 or more with him rather than his number, but we'll go 30.5. Number 2 on our countdown, one baseball game we got going on, at least one that's yet to start anyway. Seattle and Houston. How about a nice little underrun for Seattle? 7-1 under their last 8. Astros 4-1 under their last 5. Put them together. Where are we going to go? Under 8.5 Seattle at Houston tonight.
Yeah, just getting underway with McCullers on the hill for Houston. These aren't two pitchers that I honestly
Tough to
trust
go under
all
on
that
McCullers.
much. I don't really trust either one. This feels like more of an over spot to me. I understand what the trends are saying, but I think if I was to play it, and I'm not, I would be looking at the over.
Yeah, real tough to go under on a McCullers game at this point. So that leaves us with just one, the coup de grace number one trend. It's NBA. We're going to go. Minnesota is now 20-5 over third quarter total in games. So let's go over. Oh, yeah, 5 on the line. Here we go. Little buzz there. Over 54.5 Minnesota OKC third quarter. It's goofy. There's not a lot of games. We only have really 3 games to work with. So that was the most overwhelming trend I found. 20-5 over for Minnesota third quarter games.
So in the previous game 1 of this series, you got 43 in the first, 49, 50 in that third quarter, and a high scoring fourth. I like the over because I don't think we're going to get that 32-18 discrepancy again.
All right, more coming up in Game Live.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're gonna go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's gonna help me get the job done. There is not gonna be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip, try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
All right, welcome back. It is In-Game Live, Game Day here on the grid. Scott and Adam Kaufman filling in for Dave Sherpad all week until 10 p.m. Eastern Time, just getting underway. In case you missed it, our 5 on the line trends for tonight after going 3-2 yesterday. Florida plus 105 against Carolina. Hockey, as Carolina's now lost 13 straight conference final games. Sam Bennett, 2 shots on goal. He's hit that 10 of his last 12 games. Gilchrist Alexander, SGA, 31 points points or more. Has hit that in 8 of his last 10 games as well. Under Seattle and Houston, as Seattle 7-1 under their last 8, under 8.5, Seattle and Houston. And then our number one trend play, it is over third quarter, 54.5 points, Minnesota and OKC, as Minnesota's been 20-5 over their last 25 games in the third quarter. Not team total, but game total, so over 54 and a half. So I heard you talking there, Adam. Yeah, what a crazy game last night, right? I mean, just
no.
Wow.
I'm sorry, real quick. I got to cut you off. You probably heard me react when you were recapping the 5 on the line for the people. Where's the goal horn? We already have a Florida goal. These Panthers are so stinking dangerous, man. Gustav Forsling from Matt Tkachuk, his 8th assist, Forsling's first to the postseason at just 1:17 into this thing. 77 seconds into this game, the Panthers are already up in Carolina. You're going to tell me these Hurricanes, who you outlined it before, just can't seem to win when they get to the conference finals, going back decades at this point, that the sticks aren't getting tight on that bench, that, you know, you're not getting a little tight if you're Rod Brindamore standing on that bench. I mean, this is unbelievable that Florida, who entered this game as a dog, and I said it when you were talking earlier, that if I were to bet this game, and I didn't, but if I was betting this game, I would have been looking at the Florida side, you know. Well, I would have been inclined to look at the Carolina side, just be like out of desperation, figuring that they were going to even it up. But I didn't bet it because smart money felt like the dog, the plus money with Florida. And right out of the chute, man, they are up 1-0 again. Just to update the odds on this as it stands now, Scott, by the way, now all of a sudden it has flipped considerably. We're 4 minutes into this, and Florida is a -170 favorite on FanDuel. Wow. And the total obviously has jumped from 5.5 to 6.5, and you're getting basically 115 aside.
Yeah. You know what we did on the podcast? We gave out the over 2.5 goals Florida. And my thinking was, you know, as much as I like Florida, Adam, I say, you know, Carolina's basically life is on the line. I get it. They lost to 13 in a row, but maybe this Carolina team's a little different, right? I thought there was a better chance of Florida losing 4-3 or 5-3 and having the over 2.5 hit than taking Florida and having them win, you know, 1-0 or 2-0. Like, I think if Florida wins with the empty net situation, chances are pretty good you're going to get 3 goals. So that's how I attacked it today. There wasn't much odds, like -125 on their 2.5 total for Florida. So now it's 3.5. But you're right. I mean, you couldn't have painted a worse picture for Carolina. You know, all the doubts, all the creeping in. You know, get not only losing, but not even being really competitive in game one. And then they give up a goal a minute in. Oh, man. I love hedging. Well, I'm not going to hedge on this. I'll wait. You know, maybe I get to Carolina, you know, in the second period, they're down a goal. Then you get 2-1, then I would hedge. But I just think Florida's a better team. Simple as that. I don't know what it is about Carolina. You know, you see the numbers there. I mean, they're great at home. They're 14-2 before game number 1. I mean, they're unbeatable at home this year. And they lose game 1, and they're already down 1-0. What is it about the third round of the playoffs that Carolina just cannot get past? It's amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy, and obviously it's different teams year to year, and like we've said before, this spans many, many years. This trend here, but it's just wild, you know, as the rosters turn over or coaches, the lack, you know, even if you bring in some guys that have cup winning experience, it doesn't seem to matter. There's out of something bad in the DNA there in that locker room that, makes them turtle or disappear at this stage of the year. I can't pinpoint it, but the other thing that I didn't bring up is outside of not wanting to fall behind in this game, especially so early, if you're Carolina, coming from that game that, like you said, Game 1, generally not all that competitive. You know, it's 2-0 and then it's 2-1. And then, you know, after the first period, Florida goes up 3-1 pretty quickly and pulls away from there, never looks back for the blowout win. The thing that I would be worried about, we're sitting here, we're doing the show, so we're certainly not listening to that game, never mind being in that building in Raleigh. But the thing that would concern me is with Florida scoring so early, as opposed to Carolina getting on the board first at whatever point in this game it were to happen, is the crowd coming out of the game. Like there's nothing worse than that than your crowd kind of bailing on you. And I don't mean literally getting up and walking out, but you know how it is. You've been to playoff games when the crowd is silent versus when it's lively. You know, if you could have maintained this thing, best case scenario, you know, or not best case. Best case is you're the one that goes up 1-0 60 seconds in. But, you know, second to that, it stays scoreless for a while. And people can kind of, you know, with every hit, it gets a little bit louder. It gets just a little bit, you know, more charged up. As Tom Brady once said, you know, the crowds get a little more lubed up. When you go down 1-0 instantly in a game that isn't a literal must-win, but you feel like is so incredibly important, as opposed to falling down 2 games, then having to go to Florida in the house of the defending champs. This is, like you said, recipe for disaster if Carolina can't find a way to tie this game up before the break.
Yeah. To show how one-sided, or at least how opposite of how things have gone for Carolina this postseason, they only allowed 2 power play goals the entire postseason. Florida got 2 in game number 1. I mean, so in one game, they gave up as many power play goals as they had in, 10 previous playoff games. I mean, that's just like how wacky, you know, how great Carolina's been playing and how poorly game 1 went. And again, how, you know, poorly the start is for game number 2. So I'd have no problem. You know what? Put in maybe not straight, but I'd have no problem putting in a -172 with Florida if you didn't have a dog in a fight. Maybe even -1.5 goals plus 150. You want to count on an empty netter? You want to count on another game like game number 1? I think they win this one. I really do. 4-2, 5-3, something along those lines. But not good if you're a Carolina Hurricane fan. NBA game yet to get underway. We got a couple baseball games. We'll take a look at those. SGP coming up next here on the Grid.
Your college performance does not relate to the National Football League. It never does.
They played side by side with each other, and he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. That's an issue. That's a major issue.
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers.
Ever got to Texas.
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. It was Quinn Ewers' program, which Steve Sarkisian made very clear the entirety of the time that Arch Manning was in Austin. So for you to argue that because Ewers is a 7th-round pick, Arch Manning is not that good and not deserving of being first overall is asinine. It is wrong. It is incorrect.
He's going to be number 1 overall. My whole thing was I'm buying
you're doing your thing now where you double down on a take that is incorrect.
The best quarterback prospect to ever hit college football can't play.
He's
over
not
a 7th-round
There were
pick
2
who didn't even
perfectly
play
rated
good.
quarterback recruits in the history of the sport.
Quinn Ewers couldn't even play at Ohio State. He couldn't even play at Ohio State.
Quinn Ewers. Go look it up.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live. Game Day here on the grid. Scott and Adam until 10 p.m. Eastern time. We got George Kurtz coming up in about 5-10 minutes or so. We'll talk a little hockey with him. Josh Ingles, covers.com, do a little pucks with him as well. And then, of course, Cam Stewart a little bit later on to close out the program. So this time of the day, you know what we do, a little SGP same game parlay. Nice little winner yesterday. How about that as we hit with our Philadelphia Phillies against Colorado parlay? How can't you, right? I mean, it's the Phillies. Although they only won 2-0 today. They won and they covered the run line, but we didn't get all the runs and RBIs that we got yesterday. So nice little 5.5 to 1 SGP we hit yesterday. So let's go 2 for 2 this week, shall we? We're going to use the basketball game. I like Minnesota. Line is up to 8, but I'll use the 7.5. You'll see here on the graphic, that's what it was for the most part, but FanDuel does have it up to 8. I like them. I don't know if they win outright, but they're the perfect zigzag, system, bounce back, whatever you want to call it. They lost. They played poorly game 1 overall. So I like them plus the 7.5. I'll go over 217 Minnesota OKC. I think we're going to get some points in the game. If that's the case, and this is probably my favorite bet out of all these, Anthony Edwards, 25 or more points. He's got it. He stunk out the joint. He only had 13 shots, more importantly, versus the 18 points. He's got to come out be more aggressive. His team got embarrassed. I would be really, really disappointed. Not shocked because it's the NBA, but disappointed if he didn't get at least 25. I'll go with Julius Randle, 15 or more points. He's been on fire this postseason. He's really upped his game, which is amazing, at minus 390. And then I'll go SGA at 30 points or more at minus 186. Put it in a nice little parlay, and we're going to pay almost 6 to 1. What do you think?
Yeah, look, the only thing that gives me pause here, and I appreciate what you're doing on the prop market, and I certainly expect a more aggressive Anthony Edwards game. I think the Thunder cover again, man. I know it was sweaty for a lot of people who were Minnesota backers or, frankly, Thunder backers in that opener, but especially, looking at Minnesota, you're just like, man, I mean, you might win this thing, and all of a sudden it totally gets away, and it's like a 20-point game by the end. I don't expect, and I was saying this to Kev earlier on Game Time Decisions, as much as I expect a more aggressive Anthony Edwards, I expect a more successful early Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I don't think that he starts, 2 of 13, whatever it was. He came on in the second half, was excellent. I think he's going to keep getting to the free throw line as well. But I think that SGA and this team, this balance, this depth that this group has, between all the complementary pieces, I think the Thunder, it's probably a close game once again by halftime, maybe even the end of 3, but then they find a way to pull ahead. And so I'm comfortable laying the points with OKC. That more than any other is the leg that concerns me with your SGP.
Yeah, I like Minnesota tonight. I get it. Listen, it's OKC. They've been phenomenal, but it hasn't been the same this postseason. A couple of things. Let's just throw out game 1. It was a dud. It happens. It shouldn't, but it does. Minnesota's still 16-4 their last 20 games. They're 20-9 their last 29 road games. They won a couple of games against OKC this year. They're 12-6, in fact, their last 18 games against OKC. And then OKC, as much as they've been winning, obviously they wouldn't be here if they wouldn't be winning. They're only 3-7 against the spread their last 10 games after having a phenomenal regular season, 58-33-4. So it hasn't been as easy for OKC in this postseason with the boys in Vegas anyway, as it was earlier in the year. 7.5, 8, that's a big number. It's not desperate times because these games are on the road for Minnesota, but I'm a little surprised the number has gone up, even just a half a point. Just surprised it's 7.5. A lot of times they'll kick back that a little bit, bring it down to 6 because they know the team is desperate being down 1-0. So it does point to OKC, Adam, but I'm going to put my faith in Minnesota, which was playing great basketball, as OKC was obviously second half of the season. But I'm just going to assume we're going to get a better effort out of Minnesota tonight.
We saw 28-8 out of Julius Randle in game 1. Do you think that his performance is repeatable? Because if it's not, again, you either need a great game out of Anthony Edwards or someone like a Naz Reid is going to have to step up.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to go for 28 again, but he's had a pretty good postseason. If he had these kind of postseasons for the Knicks, he'd still be a New York Knick, to tell you the truth. He's not going to go for 28 again, but Anthony Edwards is not going to go for 18 again. I'm expecting more out of Anthony Edwards, and his extra 10, 15 points, I think, will carry the club. At least keep it close. 8 points, 7.5, 8 points in a mini desperation game. That's a lot to lay. But we'll see. They tip off here in a couple minutes. George Kurtz, a little hockey talk coming up next.
Your college performance does not relate to the National Football League. It never does.
They played side by side with each other, and he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. That's an issue. That's a major issue.
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers.
Ever got to Texas?
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. It was Quinn Ewers' program, which Steve Sarkisian made very clear the entirety of the time that Arch Manning was in Austin. So for you to argue that because Ewers is a 7th-round pick, Arch Manning is not that good and not deserving of being first overall is asinine. It is wrong. It is incorrect.
I told you he's going to be number 1 overall. My whole thing was I'm buying
you're doing your thing now where you double down on a take that is incorrect.
The best quarterback prospect to ever hit college football can't play.
He's not so. There were 2 perfectly rated quarterbacks in the history of the sport.
Quinn Ewers couldn't even play at Ohio State. He couldn't even play at Ohio State.
Quinn Ewers. Go look it up.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live. Game Day here on the grid. Scott and Adam, hour number 1, turning our attention to the pucks as Florida Eastern Conference Finals Game 2 already with a 1-0 lead at Carolina, laying minus 180, Carolina plus 140, over under, it's down to 5.5 as you got 8.5 minutes left to go in the first period. So with that, let's bring in our good buddy, George Kurtz. See him here all the time here on SportsGrid. What's going on, George? How are you on this Thursday evening?
Right, a little cold Thursday evening here in the Northeast, right? A little chilly here. Listen, we got some baseball, we got some hockey, so it's all good. A little annoyed that there's no late baseball tonight. The 8 o'clock game, Seattle-Houston's last game of the night.
We'll get into that, but we got to start with hockey, George, because this Florida team, of course, scores out of the gate, 70 seconds in, whatever it was. Forsling gets his first goal of the postseason. We got another one? I was about to rip Carolina. Is Carolina going to score here?
No,
my TV is a decade behind. Okay.
Yeah, it can't be worse than mine.
Nothing has happened on my television.
2-0 Florida. Wow.
Again, it's going to be a year and a half before this goal comes through on my television. This is unbelievable. It's still 1-0. Still 1-0. Still 1-0. This is crazy. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Apparently, we have a second goal. Wait, do we?
Oh, no. Here's the horn. We got another one.
Wait, did they score back-to-back?
They scored back. I know we all sooner or later, you're going to be able to say something. 3-0.
Hang on.
Florida.
Hang on. All right.
I'm still at 1 on my TV.
Now I got to watch it. So I finally just saw the second goal, which came through, which was Matt Tkachuk, who had assisted earlier on the Forsling one. and it immediately said, like a second later, there was a goal from Verhaeghe. That's got to be a mistake, right? It can't be 3-0 that fast, is it? No, I think it got changed back. I think it's 2-0. All right, so can we restart the whole segment? Florida's up 2-0, George, right now in this game, 8:19 to go in the opening period. And there were people over the weekend who were telling me that Florida and Toronto were just playing for the right to lose to Carolina in the next round. Well, Florida obviously dominates in game 1 of this series, Eastern Conference Finals. Scott has outlined how the Hurricanes can't seem to win in this round what feels like ever. And now Florida's in the process of maybe running away with this again. What do you make of this job by the Hurricanes?
I mean, the Hurricanes have struggled in the Eastern in the conference semifinals or conference finals, right? They've struggled over and over again. This is not new. Scott's right. I think they've lost. It's a lot of games. I think it's like 13, 14, whatever it is, 15 games in a row here. And it's funny because I love Rob Brindamore. All right, but we played right even with these teams, right? No, you keep losing. You're not even. You're losing. All right, you got to change it up a little bit here. The bottom line is this. I like Carolina Hurricanes, but they had the easiest path to get here. You beat a beat-up Devils team. You beat a Washington Capitals team that I guess I never truly thought was all that dangerous. Like I said, I compared it to the Minnesota Vikings 1,000 times. You don't have anyone special on this team. All right, they're a workman team. All right, they dump the puck in. They kind of play hockey the way I like to play hockey. Dump it in, shoot everything at the net you possibly can, crash the net, go for a rebound, screen the goalie, and go. But they don't have truly anyone special. They did. That was Rantanen, and then they couldn't work it out. They traded him. And listen, I like Stankoven, who they ended up getting in that trade, but he's not, a special player. He's a nice second-line wing here. So I think that's going to be their issue. I think the conference finals are about as far as the Hurricanes can go year in, year out. Ferric is a nice goalie, but we're not talking a superstar goalie who's going to stop everything here. Defense is solid, but there's no Cale McCullough on it or anyone like that. So I kind of think this is as far as the Hurricanes are going to be able to go. I've been on Florida, listen, all series, all playoffs long. Anyway, they are built for this. This is what Florida does. They play 7-game series. Was I worried in round 1 versus Tampa that maybe they wouldn't be able to turn on that light switch because they pretty much took all of April off, and most of March they took off. They didn't care where they finished, first, second, or third in that division. I thought, this is going to be a problem versus Tampa. Wasn't a problem versus Tampa. It was a slight problem versus Toronto, but when it mattered, they beat the snot out of Toronto, and it looks like they're going to take care of business here again here. Florida is that good.
It's amazing, Joy. It's in hockey, maybe more so in any other sport. It's the same thing over and over. Whether it's the Toronto Maple Leafs who can't get out of the second round, whether it's the LA Kings who can't get out of the first round, whether it's Carolina that can't get past the second or into the third but can't advance. It's like you never see any changes. It's the same players, no major trades. I mean, Carolina tried. But they decided that they couldn't why you would make a trade for a guy that you knew was going to be a free agent, I don't know, and you decide you're not going to sign for him. But it's just like, it's the same teams over and over and over and over again. I don't get it with the NHL.
Well, you look at the teams that you're talking about here. Toronto, you're not wrong. And we're all wondering, will this be the year now that they make the changes here? Because it's not working with that group. It's not working with Matthews, Nylander, Martin, or Tavares. It's just not working there. Now, their decision may be made for them. Martin is going to be a free agent, so he may be gone anyway. Tavares, free agent, may be gone. So they'll have to change things up here. Scotty, I think a lot of this comes down to ownership here. What's more important? Winning in the regular season. I mean, Toronto's made the playoffs 9 straight years. They're one of the few teams, if not the only team in the NHL that's done that. So you can do that. You're going to make money. You're going to bank, right? But you're not going anything further than the second round. This group can't go any further than that. So what's more important? Going for the cup or making the money? And it's going for the cup. That's a fan talking. Ownership, that's not always the most important thing. And I think the Winnipeg Jets now have to go through the same thing here. What's more important? Cup or once again, going to the second round, first round of the playoffs here and making that money here. I think they'll have to sort of decide that. The LA Kings seem to be making some moves, right? You did change the GM here. You fired Blake. But their problem is they can't get past Edmonton. That's a completely different problem here. And I don't know if that's going to change anytime soon here with the Angels' insane playoff system where you're going to have to play them either in the first or second round here. But I agree with you. I mean, if it's not working year after year after year, you probably have to change things up. I think Toronto will because they have no choice. Winnipeg, I don't think they will. They're going to try to pretty much run it back with the same group. The Kings will see here. But Florida, like I said, they don't need to change it. They play that style. They have the right players to play that style, and they keep winning over and over and over again.
Kurtzy, I hope you'll stick around with us for another segment so we can get into some baseball, but I want to keep going with the hockey right now here because it looked like after the game ones, we were ticketed to a Florida-Edmonton Stanley Cup final rematch, obviously, and that's entirely possible still, but the Dallas Stars stole game one. 5 third-period goals against the Oilers. Incredible comeback, turned into a great game. Sweat-free if you played the over, all of it. I was all about the over going into that game. Is that the play, or is that the type of series you expect to continue seeing here? High scoring and back and forth affairs.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's Edmonton, all right? It's just like in Toronto. Generally, if I'm not betting the over, then I'm not betting the total. I'm not going to bet an under with the Edmonton Oilers here. They're generally going to play higher scoring games. Yeah, they sort of blew one yesterday. That's a game they probably should have won. It's almost like they took their foot off the gas at them, right? You took all those penalties. Like, you just didn't respect Dallas. Oh, they can't score anyway. Can't be doing that. Dallas, they don't have a Draisaitl. They don't have a McDavid. Nobody does. Well, maybe Toronto. But they can run 3-4 lines at you, right? I mean, once again, if Jenny Dodonov's on the 4th line, think about how sick that is. Seguin's a 3rd-line center, sometimes a wing. I mean, they can run line after line after line against you. Sort of team that can tire you out over a long series because they keep coming at you. Edmonton has a great 2 lines, but as it gets deeper, they don't have what Dallas has here. I'm on Dallas, right? I was on Dallas, Florida, Stanley Cup rematch from a few years ago, and I think that's what's going to happen here. But I think where I'm positive Florida's going to win, I'm not positive about Dallas or Edmonton. I think some teams might have a problem getting past game one when you have 5 goals in the third period. I think Edmonton will be fine. They've had other problems here, right? I mean, they've overcome a 2-0 deficit to the Los Angeles Kings, so I think they'll be okay here. But I still like the Dallas Stars to advance. But I think that series is likely to go 6, maybe even 7.
Yeah, tough one though. They had it. You know, they clearly had it up 3-1, or up 3-1 in game 1. So game 2 tomorrow in Dallas. A quick little break, and we'll come back. We'll talk a little baseball. We got a couple of games underway. And we got more losses from Colorado. It's a beautiful thing.
Your college performance does not relate to the National Football League. It never does.
They played side by side with each other, and he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. That's an issue. That's a major issue.
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers.
Ever got to Texas.
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. It was Quinn Ewers' program, which Steve Sarkisian made very clear the entirety of the time that Arch Manning was in Austin. So for you to argue that because Ewers is a 7th-round pick, Arch Manning is not that good and not deserving of being first overall is asinine. It is wrong. It is incorrect.
He's going to be number 1 overall. My whole thing was I'm buying
you're doing your thing now where you double down on a take that is incorrect.
The best quarterback prospect to ever hit college football can't play.
He's
over
not
a 7th-round pick.
There were 2 perfectly rated quarterback recruits in the history of the sport.
Quinn Ewers couldn't even play at Ohio State. He couldn't even play at Ohio State.
Quinn Ewers. Go look it up.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live. Game Day here on the grid. Scott and Adam talking with George Kurtz. We kept them over to talk a little baseball, but we got to go back to the hockey. And Carolina fans, you're not going to like it. Florida scored again. 3-0 Panthers now. Still in the first period, 3.5. That over 2.5 that we played, boys, on the podcast. Cha-ching, cha-ching. You don't have to worry about losing, blowing a lead. It's over. Nice little over 2.5. They're minus 1450. Carolina plus 7-1. The over/under is 7.5. And Georgia, just real quickly to this, just throw more salt on the wound for Carolina fans. That was a power play goal. Florida has scored 3 power play goals in less than 4 periods, which is 1 more than what Carolina allowed the first 10 playoff games. I mean, it's just like, you talk about turning a faucet off. You get to the Eastern Conference Finals with Carolina, and you just shut it down. Just shut it down. It's a completely different team. It's just amazing, right?
You want salt on the wound. Remember, this is in Carolina. Carolina generally has one of the best home ice advantages in the NHL, and Florida's going through you like you're not there. I mean, this is, I don't want to say embarrassing, but they may be another team that we talked about earlier. If they want to get to where they want to go, they got to change things up. They keep losing in this round. They can't even win a game, right? It's be 14 in a row now, assuming the score holds here. So they may have to change some things as well here. Although, in my mind, though, the Canes have had a great season just to get this far.
Yeah.
You don't want to say embarrassing. It's embarrassing, George. You should say embarrassing. You should scream embarrassing. They lost by 3 goals in the opener of this series on their own ice, and they're already in the opening period down 3 goals in game 2 with their season effectively on the line. This is embarrassing. I'm not sure covers it. Well, let's go to baseball here because we got a few games that are in progress right now. Kind of. I say kind of because one is actually in a rain delay. The Brewers and the Pirates with Milwaukee up in Pittsburgh 5-3. That is bottom 6, and tough time for the delay because the Pirates have runners at the corners with 2 out. I'm sure they're going to come back feeling, loose and fresh and a great opportunity to drive in that run. Bottom 8, the Guardians all over Detroit. That's another 3-0 game. And the Braves. This has been frustrating. Atlanta took a 2-0 lead, immediately gave up 5, tied the game, and then immediately gave up 2 more. So it's 7-5. The Nationals are leading top 7, but the Braves do have the leadoff man in scoring position on second, so we'll see there. And the Mariners up 2-0 in Houston, bottom 2. Were you on anything with these games tonight?
Yeah, we'll start with the Mariners, right? George Kirby returns tonight. He's missed he's missed the entire season so far due to injury. He's back. On the Mariners, smaller play. Houston, they're not good. They don't have much of an offense here. So I'm on the under in this game as well here, which currently is at 8.5. I was not happy to see the Mariners put up 2 runs right away, but I also like the fact that Julio Rodriguez was a late scratch in this game. Still wondering why they didn't announce that yet. So I was on Seattle there, although it does concern me. So I'm very careful when pitchers first return from injury here, which is why it wasn't a bigger play, because I don't know what Kirby's pitch count's going to be. He's on 175. That probably puts him around the 5 innings, but Seattle has a good enough bullpen where I shouldn't have to worry about that. So I was on the Mariners here. The Braves, that's looking like a loser so far. We're gonna need some runs from them. They do have a run on second now. There's 1 out here with Matt Olson at the plate. So we need Braves to have another comeback here. On the under in Detroit, Cleveland. On the under a lot because it's been miserable here. Right, it's raining, it's cold. The Yankee earlier this afternoon I thought it was an easy under here with Eovaldi. So a lot of unders, mainly because of the weather is so brutal here in the Northeast and pretty much in the central United States as well.
Speaking of the Yanks and Colorado, we'll mix them together. Rockies lost again today, albeit only 2-0, so maybe a moral victory for the Rockies, even though they didn't cover the run line. But they now begin a series, losing 4 in a row at home to Philadelphia. They're 8-42. They now begin a 3-game home series against your Yankees, George. Is there any way the Yankees I'll start with lose the series. Maybe they can lose 1 game, but they're not going to lose the series to Colorado, right?
I think that's the question you just asked there. I don't see them losing the series, but will they not sweep? All right. The Yankees do tend to sometimes play down to their competition. All right. It does happen here. That being said, they're going to get Max Fried, Schmidt, and even Warren has looked good here. So I think our bigger question is going to be, we're going to get overs here. How big are the overs going to be? And can we take that? We can play some home run props. if I was to bet, I'll say the Yankees take 2 out of 3. Just knowing how the Yankees play, you know, they just swept Texas, just took 2 out of 3 from the Mets. They're due for a letdown, right? It was an early game today. Maybe they won't show up for tomorrow's game, and that'll be the problem. I don't listen. I'm just trying to find a way that they don't sweep here, but I'm going to say they take 2 out of 3 here and not a sweep. But the Yankees have not been hitting the cover off the ball. So I think the overs could be interesting, but I'll have some home run props in this series. And it may not be for Aaron Judge, by the way, who doesn't look right last week or so. He's not pulling the ball with authority at all.
With the Yankees only winning 1-0 today, and I know that the Rangers are not the Rockies. These two teams are not created equally, obviously, plus the factor that, you know, you're in cores and the offense that comes with that ballpark. But what's the best way to play this? Is it And I know who I'm asking here. So is it Yankees money line parlays with somebody else, get yourself even money, plus money situation, or are you attacking the Yankees run line?
I mean, the over tomorrow is 12. That seems nuts for me. I think if anything, I'll take the under there. Granted, somebody named Gordon is pitching for Colorado. And the Rockies, and I am not making a joke, being sarcastic. I mean, this may be the worst pitching staff of all time. All right, it's bad here, but still, 12 seems to be an awfully high over under. We're not even in the summer yet, where the Bulls will be traveling there. You can certainly take the Yankees team total over, you know, but that's going to be 6.5, I imagine here. So you can either get the 7, 8, and the Yankees have not been hitting the cover off the ball here of late at all. I'm going to take the Yankees hit home runs. It's what they do. So I'm going to be taking home run props and probably more than 2. Now, I'm probably going to have like someone like Bellinger. Not Goldschmidt. He hasn't been driving the ball here. But Bellinger, I think, is a shot there. Maybe an Austin Wells. Go for the lower guys on the Yankee list. They get more plus money for it. That's probably how I'm going to take this. If you want the Yankees, I think will win the game. But you're going to have to parlay it and maybe get a 3-way parlay. Yankees are minus 300 tomorrow. So you got to keep an eye on that. You may need to get more than Gallon against St. Louis maybe is an option tomorrow. But you're going to need to get more than just the Yankees in a parlay.
The Phillies team total today, George, was 7.5. 7.5 for a team total. We've seen lower game totals. I don't know. I tell you what, I think this Rockies team is going to be worse than the White Sox. I don't think they get 40 wins. I really don't. George, great job as always, man. We'll do it again soon.
Your college performance does not relate to the National Football League. It never does.
They played side by side with each other, and he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. That's an issue. That's a major issue.
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers.
Ever got to Texas.
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. It was Quinn Ewers' program, which Steve Sarkisian made very clear the entirety of the time that Arch Manning was in Austin. So for you to argue that because Ewers is a 7th-round pick, Arch Manning is not that good and not deserving of being first overall is asinine. It is wrong. It is incorrect.
He's going to be number 1 overall. My whole thing was I'm buying
you're doing your thing now where you double down on a take that is incorrect.
The best quarterback prospect to ever hit college football can't play
He's
over
not
a 7th-round pick
There were 2
who didn't even play good.
quarterback recruits in the history of the sport.
Quinn Ewers couldn't even play at Ohio State. He couldn't even play at Ohio State.
Quinn Ewers. Go look it up.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the Grid. Thanks again, George Kurtz, joining us there for a couple segments, talking a little hockey, a little NBA, or a little NHL rather. So Carolina does have a power play, if that helps the situation any for Carolina fans, down 3-0 as they played late in the first period. In fact, the first period just ended, so they have a couple seconds of the power play that'll transfer over into the second period. So Florida laying 22-1. And Carolina's plus 870. So, you know what time it is? Time for our little Black Cloud play of the day. All right, we don't do this too often. We're not presented with this issue, and that is there are no more games on the board that have yet to start. You know, that's it. No late baseball, no late WNBA, no late hockey, no late soccer. So we'll take a game that's already underway, and it's a game that I kind of like from the beginning.
We're going to the
about it. That's the Florida-Carolina game. What's that?
I said we're going to the KBO.
Yes, yeah.
Korean baseball, overnight, baby.
Overnight baseball, yeah, little Japanese baseball. No, we'll take the Florida-Carolina game. We're going to bump up the Florida Panthers. They're offering a team total right now of over 4.5. It's little juice, minus 160, but that's really not bad. I mean, it's 3-0 after one. You know they're good for an empty netter, even if it stays 3-0. So there's your fourth goal, but you really only need like one more goal, maybe two. You need one from Florida and then one from Carolina. I don't think Carolina's going to roll over. They're at home. I don't think they're going to get shut out at home. I really don't. So I think Carolina's going to score. That's going to keep Florida on the aggressive nature of the game. So I would be real surprised. They got 3 goals. The goaltender stinks. If they had any kind of backup, they would have yanked them already. So over 4.5, little Black Cloud, minus 160, little juice, but we're way ahead of the game. We hit last night with the first 5 with Arizona, which led 1-0 after one, which is why we did the first 5 with Arizona, right? They end up losing the game 3-1. So sometimes it's kind of the best way to think out of the box. So over Florida 4.5 minus.
Did you see the way that played out too? By the way.
What's that?
The way that played out, the Diamondbacks, the way that game played out too, the Diamondbacks were up 1-0 at the end of 5. So, like you said, you hit the first 5 bet, but the Dodgers scored all 3 of theirs in the 6th. So, by the skin of our teeth, able to hit that one.
Yeah, how about that? I didn't realize that. I knew it was 3-1. I saw the 1-0 after 5 as I turned it off. Next game, next bet, right? And then I saw later on it was 3-1, like the 7th inning. So, yeah, it was 6th inning. How about that? Yeah. I don't do that too often, but I just like the pitching matchup. So I didn't want to screw around with the bullpens and all that other stuff. And then 9, by the way, that made no sense, 9. I mean, you got the Corbin Burns, who's been pitching great. I mean, he's allowed 1 run in 3 innings or 3 games, his last 3 games, and they were giving us a 9 in that one. Didn't even come close. I don't know. You know, every once in a while, Adam, you get these strange lines that make you think, and you really question your judgment on things. But that made no sense, and it didn't even come close to going over last night.
No, if nothing else, the one that disappointed me there was Arizona's offensive output. I would have thought against Dustin May on the other side, you would have gotten, some 3, 4, 5 runs, right? To only come away with 1, and the Dodgers obviously get their 3. That was not the way that I would have expected that to play out. But I'm glad that I sided with you on that first 5 because that seemed to be the way to play it. I want to go back to the hockey game though, because you brought up the interesting play of going over 4.5 on the team total for Florida as it sits right now at right around, what'd you say, minus 160?
Yeah, 160.
So I'll give you a comparable bet. The game total at the moment is 6.5 at similar juice, minus 154 on FanDuel. But obviously you are accounting for, at least 2 Carolina goals, you figure, even if you are getting to 5 on the Florida side. Is there one bet that you like more than the other? Would you rather trust Florida to get 2 more versus also needing Carolina to chip in 2? Whereas, let's say Florida won this game 4-3, that's losing one bet, hitting the other. So there are different ways to look at it.
Right. I think it's early enough where I think Florida's going to ignore the score and just really try and play normal shifts and everything else, not sit on a 3-0 lead. So it's not bad thinking,
sure.
Because it's hard for Florida to get to 5 and the game not go to 7 versus it's easy for the game to go to 7 and Florida maybe not get to 5. And Carolina makes this great comeback,
right.
and then they win. So it's I didn't think about that. I just automatically figured 2 more goals out of Florida. That's all I want to kind of worry about. So I'll stick with Florida because this might be 5-0, 6-0. I don't think so, but it might. Carolina will fall.
Your college performance does not relate to the National Football League. It never does.
They played side by side with each other, and he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. That's an issue. That's a major issue.
It wasn't that he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers.
Ever got to Texas?
It wasn't that he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. It was Quinn Ewers' program, which Steve Sarkisian made very clear the entirety of the time that Arch Manning was in Austin. So for you to argue that because Ewers is a 7th-round pick, Arch Manning is not that good and not deserving of being first overall is asinine. It is wrong. It is incorrect.
I told you he's going to be number 1 overall. My whole thing was I'm buying
you're doing
him
your
because
thing now where you double down on a take
I'm not
that is
doing
incorrect.
that. The best quarterback prospect to ever hit college football can't play
He's
over
not
a 7th-round
There were
pick
2
who didn't even
perfectly
play
rated
good.
quarterback recruits in the history of the sport.
Quinn Ewers couldn't even play at Ohio State. He couldn't even play at Ohio State.
Quinn Ewers. Go look it up.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back. It is In-Game Live Game Day, hour number 2 of our 2-hour extravaganza. Scott and Adam till 10 p.m. Eastern time. Busy second hour. We got the NHL, NBA, and a couple baseball games to keep us occupied, to make a couple shekels with the boys in Vegas. NBA, Adam, game 2. Not necessarily a do or die, but still Minnesota doesn't want to fall behind 2-0. They're in the process of doing that, though. I will say they're down 23-15. The only good news out of it is at least Anthony Edwards, who was really a dog in game 1, has taken 6 shots. The bad news is he's only made 2, so he's got 4 points. But the 6 shots is almost half of how many he took, 13 in game number 1. So the premise was he was going to come out and be aggressive, which is why we liked his over 24.5. So that's a good little sign, I suppose, even though he's not scoring. They are down 8. There's 3 minutes left to go in the first quarter. They got to be careful here, right? They don't want to fall behind by 15-20 and let this thing get away from down 23-15, 3 minutes left to go in the first. Your thoughts?
Yeah, what's interesting is Minnesota just cut it to 3, 23-18, and yet Oklahoma City is still laying 10.5, which is what the number was when it was 23-15. So that has not moved. Only the juice has moved from right around minus 140 to minus 114. Pretty considerable, obviously, but Oklahoma City, in the eyes of Vegas, is vastly considered to be the favorite and expected to win this one. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, you talked about SGA earlier as part of your trends, the 31-plus points. He's already at 8, shooting 3 of 4, so he's already made more shots in this first quarter than he did in the entire first half of the previous game when he went 2 for 12, 2 for 13, the rough, rocky start. He's not going to the free throw line in the same way that he did. The foul baiting is not really working for him just yet. He's 2 of 2. Matter of fact, the only free throws that they have on the Thunder side right now. But what's interesting about Minnesota, you mentioned the shot volume for Anthony Edwards, and he has just the 4 points. They haven't gone to the free throw line at all. They're taking jumpers here in this one so far. But I asked you earlier, was the 28 points or anything even like it repeatable out of Julius Randle? I don't think either one of us felt it was. And so far, he is 0 for 4 in 8 minutes scoreless. The production generally has come from Ant as well as Jaden McDaniels, who's hit a pair of threes and has 6 points. So you need McDaniels. You need, maybe a Naz Reid who has not done anything yet. It's early. Dante DiVincenzo actually has a quick 5 off the bench now. But the role players, the contributors are going to need to help. Ant isn't going to be able to carry this thing alone. You're seeing it reflected in the score right now.
Yeah, they're real lucky, Adam. They're only down 5. I mean, you look at they're shooting 30%. Meanwhile, OKC is shooting 55%. So it's like, how are they only down 5? But, I know it's the first quarter, late first quarter, but they're real lucky they're not down 10, 15 points.
Yeah, they're 4 of 9 from 3. They're shooting 45% from 3. That's the difference.
That's it.
Right there. It's the only thing that's elevated their shooting so far.
Yeah. Again, good to see them come out and be aggressive. I like the pace of the game. They're both teams are going up and down the court, but Minnesota's got to hit a few more shots here. And you're right, Randall, 0-4, only 2 rebounds as well, no assists. He's got a turnover. He's got a personal foul. He'll I'm assuming, turn it on somewhere along the line. To me, this is an Anthony Edwards game, Adam, which is why I played his over 24.5 points. We all want to anoint him as the next Michael Jordan and all the comparisons, and he's great and this and that, and he made spectacular dunks, no two ways about it, but his team is down 1-0. They lose tonight and not be competitive. This series basically is over, right? I mean, they were monster underdogs to start. They're down 1. They lose this. He's got to step. He's got to go for 30, 35 tonight. He just has to. Even if they end up losing, if he wants to really be considered one of the elite players, he's got to go for 35 tonight and carry this team, especially when you're not getting anything from, at this point anyway, from any of the other starters. I mean, you got 9 other points from 4 other guys. You only 4 from him, but the starters only have 13 points so far. So he's got to be the man. Otherwise, it's just typical NBA. Okay, yeah, you're great in the regular season when no one cares, but come postseason, that's when you really shine or should shine, and he's not.
Look, it's late first quarter. I'm not going to take any victory laps, but I will say, at least so far, be it this game, game 1. This is what I expected. I said coming into the series to you, Scott, my expectation, I've been screaming it on SportsGrid for days now, Thunder in 5, maybe 6, if I'm going to give Anthony Edwards and these Timberwolves a little bit more respect. But really, the gentleman's sweep is what I've expected coming into this one. They obviously had to rally and win game 1 going away, and out of the chute, it's only a 6-point game, but you like what you're seeing out of the Thunder so far in this game and on pace to cover the number, and hopefully they do for those of us that invested in that side. I just think that they are a much, much better team, a deeper team, a more balanced team, I don't know about more confident team, although there's certainly a swagger there with this Thunder team. But, Ant, you alluded to it. I was talking to Kev about it as well. It's all this Michael Jordan nonsense. My God, win something. Getting to the conference finals is not enough. And good on you. It's not an easy thing to do. Do it back-to-back years, but show up when you're there as well. You can't have all of these game starts and you don't really get going until the second half performances that sort of fill out the stat sheet, but for anyone that actually watched the game, know that you weren't really in it. No, prove something. You have something to show. Anthony Edwards, and he's young. He has had a very good start to his career. He may have a great Hall of Fame caliber career, but we're going to compare him to, in my mind and most people's minds, the greatest player to ever walk the earth to play in the NBA? No, it's so egregious and offensive to, maybe this generation who was too young for Michael Jordan and you've grown up on LeBron and not fine, but as someone who watched Michael Jordan, Anthony Edwards he's just not in the conversation. Like it's, I mean, it's like Nikola Jokic. Nikola Jokic is going to go down as a top 10 player of all time. He's already 12 to 15 range. Some people might even put him in 10. Anthony Edwards is not a top 25 player of all time right now, let alone drawing these comparisons to Michael Jordan. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, it's amazing. You know, the numbers these guys put up and the flashy dunks and everything just screws up everyone's mind when it comes to like really comparing them to all-time greats. It's as simple as that. You just see it time after time after time. These teams get into the postseason, players get into the postseason, and they just don't perform. And it just, you know, when people care, if they cared that much in the regular season, then all these guys' scoring averages would be a good 5-6 points less than what they are. So a couple baseball games. I see your Braves have scored 1 run, 7-6 top of the 8th inning, getting 4-1. I know you already have them, but if you didn't have them, I might take a crack against that Nationals bullpen at 4-1 odds with 2 at-bats left.
I just hope you're right. I like you said, I'm already invested, so it is what it is at this point. I don't need to go in deeper, but I'm hoping they find a way. They've already come back to tie it once. Let's see if they can do it again.
Yeah. Bottom 3, Seattle and Houston tied at 2. 9.5. I got a feeling that's going to be a high-scoring game. So we'll take a break. We'll come back, check the hockey board again with Josh Ingles. Covers.com. We'll get some winners and thoughts from him from the NHL with Florida leading it 3-0 after 1, trying to take a commanding 2-0 series lead over the Carolina Hurricanes. So Panthers doing well, Hurricanes not too well. We'll see what Josh has for us when we come back.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Two guys that can do it all.
It's too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're gonna go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's gonna help me get the job done. There is not gonna be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip, try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
right, welcome back in-game live. Game day here on the grid. Scott and Adam filling in for Dave tonight as we take it to 10 p.m. Eastern time. Got some good news. As Adam and I was discussing, whether we go over Florida team total or game total. There it is. And there you go, Adam. They did. First minute in, I'm guessing on the ensuing power play from the first period, they scored. So it's 3-1 now. So I wish I would have taken a 6.5 versus the team total. So, but let's talk a little pucks with our good buddy Josh Ingles. Check out all his work at covers.com. You can follow Josh on Twitter, covers_Josh. What's going on, Josh? How are you today, bud?
Just trying to see who's getting the points here. I bet mostly points, so it's really important to see when I don't watch the game where they go, because there is some scoring nuances, and we find out where the assists go, and is there a secondary assist? Hit a plus 250 Evan Rodriguez on the third goal already, but it was a weird situation because Carter Verhaeghe took a shot, it was blocked by the defender. And then you're just hoping that the scorekeeper gives the assist, because in some spots you see that they won't. The shot's blocked. They'll just go. They'll call it an unassisted goal. But it's nice to see when they're giving out secondary assists, because that really helps the over markets.
Brent Burns right now is getting the lone assist from what I see. Aho the goal.
Yeah, Sebastian Aho's fifth goal in the goal, and then Brent Burns with the assist. What were you expecting coming into this game in terms of a bounce back after the Hurricanes, were just curb stomped in game one against the defending champs? And then in this one, obviously they go down 3-0. Now they're on pace to maybe make it a game. We'll see. There's almost 2 full periods left. But did you think you were going to get a similar outcome, or was Carolina going to show up with its season kind of on the line in this one?
No, I didn't expect much from Carolina.
They took the goal away.
I watched every minute of the Toronto-Florida series, especially the last three games, which were just the hardest games to watch. Game 6 obviously was a little easier, but games 5 and game 7, Florida emptied out Scotiabank Arena in Toronto. It was empty. It was empty by halfway through the third period. What happened in Raleigh on Tuesday? The exact same thing. This Florida team is not only crushing them, they're crushing the fans. Fans who are spending thousands of dollars in the midweek to go down and catch second round, third round hockey, and everybody's leaving. Like, that's such a chip on the shoulder for a Florida team, where they can look in that locker room and look to the left, look to the right, and see everybody there contributing. First line with Barkov and Rodriguez. Second line, the Tkachuk line is going tonight. The third line, the Listerainen, Lundell, Marchand line, that got them through the second. They got Bob going in game 1. Everybody contributes, and we saw there was a really cool clip of Paul Maurice talking about what he wanted from his team. And you don't usually hear a coach say this, but it's so cool. He's talking to his boys in the intermission in a game where they're leading by 4 goals. And they say, he says, I want a good bench. I want to see a good bench. And that's what you see with Florida. There was a Thomas Nosek block right at the end of the period where he turned his back and took one off the ribs. And in hockey fashion, the entire bench just goes crazy, like a fight. Everyone's standing up. Everybody's cheering. That's what hockey is. And right now, Florida's a wagon. Carolina had an easy path with New Jersey and Washington, and now they're feeling the full force of maybe the best playoff team of my generation. Tampa Bay was great. This team's better.
They did take that goal away. Good job. I tell you what, from Paul Maurice, he challenged it. I didn't see the play, but, if he loses the challenge, Josh, as you know, now it's 3-1, and Carolina's on a power play, which is a really great chance for them to get back into it. So I don't know how obvious it was, but they said they were offsides. So it's back to 3-0.
There's some value in having a good video guy. Ask the LA Kings, who were up, had a chance to put the Oilers down 3-0 in the series, took a bad penalty call for review, and then Edmonton went on to just sweep the series from that point on. The Maple Leafs, I don't think they lost the challenge. So there's lots of value in that. So I'm sure that Paul Maurice knew exactly what he was doing.
How do you explain, Josh, this would be their 14th straight conference championship loss. I remember a few of them, but that's a long, I mean, is this core, is it as simple as, well, they're good, but they're just not great? Is that the explanation?
There's a couple things. Actually, there's a handful of things. First off, it wasn't all in the Rod Brindamore era. I believe only 9 of those. This would be 10 in a row for Rod Brindamore, he's been signed. 100%. And the other one was in 2009. I believe it was the Penguins. So the Bruins swept them. Florida swept them. But this also comes down a lot to Gary Bettman's playoff format, which is absolutely horrible right now. We're seeing just the same matchups because the Metro division is not as strong as a division as the Atlantic. The Atlantic has Toronto. The Atlantic has Florida, has Tampa Bay, has Boston. Those are legit teams. Right now, Carolina, Washington, the Rangers, like they're not holding a candle to those teams over in the Atlantic. So there's a bunch of things happening. And their path to this spot is literally the easiest thing. New Jersey and Washington was as easy as it gets for any team of the 16 making the playoffs. And I think that's kind of what you're seeing. Yes, but then that's just another point where it's like Florida. Yeah, Florida's just another team that's built differently that no matter where you run into them, they're going to beat you up. No matter where you ran into that Boston Bruins team from 3 years ago, they're going to beat you up as well. So they've run into some pretty strong teams in the East, but at that same point, you look at this lineup, you look at the goaltending, Freddie Anderson's probably, I don't know if he'll make it through this game. If I was a bet man, I would have bet on the series over 1.5 starting goalies. I don't like Freddie Anderson as someone to lead you through an entire playoffs. Pyotr Kochekov's probably going to see some starts, I hope, in this series. And even matching up, maybe in the regular season, that third line of Jordan Staal and Martinook might do you well. But guess what? Florida's running out a third line, and that includes Brad Marchand. They're just built way better, and they have no weaknesses.
Talking with Josh
really
Ingles.
About 30 seconds left, Josh, but
real
quick toward tomorrow.
You got time, Josh, for another segment?
Yeah, we're here.
Cool. All right, we'll take a quick break, then we'll get into the Western Conference Finals, and then overall his thoughts on who he thinks is going to win the Stanley Cup championship. 3-0, still Florida. Keep posted on that in Game Live.
Your college performance does not relate to the National Football League. It never does.
They played side by side with each other, and he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. That's an issue. That's a major issue.
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers.
Ever got to Texas.
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. It was Quinn Ewers' program, which Steve Sarkisian made very clear the entirety of the time that Arch Manning was in Austin. So for you to argue that because Ewers is a 7th-round pick, Arch Manning is not that good and not deserving of being first overall is asinine. It is wrong. It is incorrect.
I told you he's going to be number 1 overall. My whole thing was I'm buying
you're doing your thing now where you double down on a take that is incorrect.
The best quarterback prospect to ever hit college football can't play.
He's not so. There were 2 perfectly rated quarterback recruits in the history of the sport.
Quinn Ewers couldn't even play at Ohio State. He couldn't even play at Ohio State.
Quinn Ewers. Go look it up.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in-game live game day here on the grid. Scott and Adam, hour number 2 of our 2-hour extravaganza. Got a little pucks going on. Game number 2. We got Florida still leading at 3-0 over Carolina. 12 and a half minutes left to go in the second period. We'll keep you posted on that. Over under is 6.5. You can take a flyer on Carolina at 10-1, I suppose. Maybe laying 3.5 at plus 146 if you're Florida. Otherwise, they're 35-1 right now. Talking some pucks with Josh Ingles. Check out all his work, covers.com. Follow him on Twitter at @covers_Josh. So got this one. We'll keep an eye on that, Josh. But your thoughts, game 1 on Dallas and Edmonton, and then more importantly, who's going to win game 2 tomorrow?
Edmonton, incredible first 40 minutes. Maybe the most dominating 40 minutes that I've seen. They've been playing on the West Coast. I'm an East Coast guy, so I haven't been able to catch their entire playoff run. But watching what they did to a very talented Dallas roster that has Miro Heiskanen back, that has Jake Ottinger back, like at the top of his form. Got some goals from Tyler Seguin. Finally, some non-first-line goals from Dallas. Dallas is a great team. And Edmonton absolutely owned that first period inside and out. And all of a sudden, 3 straight penalties. Yes, they were stick penalties. Yes, they were deserved. But who gets 3 straight penalties in a 3-1 game in game 1 of the series and then give up 3 consecutive power play goals, not only to the first unit, but 2 goals to the second unit and 1 to the first unit? It's probably one of the bigger swings you'll see in a playoff series, especially one in the third round. But in saying that, I think you get a little value on Edmonton coming back in game 2 here at even money. The only issue is, which Stuart Skinner do you get? The meme today going around was Stuart Skinner only posts save percentages below like 837 or a shutout. So his range of outcomes, and I've been screaming it all week, is bigger than any other goalie that exists right now. He could give up 5 or he can shut you out. He's an absolute anomaly. He's not a great goalie, but he can win you games. But he can also lose them for you. He already lost his job once, basically. He got it back. I wouldn't be surprised if he lost it again if things struggle. But in saying that, Edmonton looked good. I'm going to take the first 40 minutes of that game and use that as more of a standard to how game 2's going to go. And Edmonton played well on the road without last change. So even money, pretty good. I don't know if I'm tempted at that 6.5 number on the over. That seems a little generous. But Edmonton looks good. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins playing on that top line with Connor McDavid and Zach Hyman. I think I'd rather take RNH for a point because he does have the PP1 correlation, and Edmonton's probably going to get that power play going. And hockey's a funny thing. When the narrative is that Dallas just won a game taking 3 straight power play goals to the finish line, the NHL might find a way for Edmonton to get a few power play opportunities tomorrow night.
So, Josh, that in mind, especially if the enhanced man advantage opportunities are there, are we looking toward the over in this game?
No, I don't love the over. I think Edmonton can lock it down. I think the over's already heavily priced into this situation, right? Like 6.5 is not where I want to bet a round 2. So I was happy to get today's game over 5.5, but that was plus 105. I think somewhere in these playoffs, 6 is where you want to go. I wouldn't be surprised if that went to maybe minus 110 on the sides for the 6.5 tomorrow. I don't love it. I do think Edmonton can win games 4-0. That's a weird thing to say with Stuart Skinner in net. But Dallas has shown that, yes, they scored some goals on the power play, but outside of that, they'd been really relying on that first line to score with Granlund and Rantanen and Rupe Hintz. Outside of that, they hadn't been getting anything. So I think Edmonton can hit that team total over, but that game can go under. I'm not obviously going to hit those 2 hit that negative correlation, but I do like Edmonton to come back, maybe somewhere in that 4-1 game, 3-1 with an empty netter.
Can Edmonton win the cup ultimately with Skinner or their goaltending that they have in general?
Yeah, they can. That's how good they are up front. I've been dismissing them entirely. Just get them to the dance. This was a team that already took Florida to 7 games with Skinner in net. Skinner is bad, right? But they're already here. There's no reason Edmonton can't. I think if you went to the Stanley Cup Finals and you get Edmonton and Florida as a pick'em, you're absolutely taking Florida 100% of the time. I think where would trying to think. I believe Edmonton would have home ice in that series. Haven't really thought about that.
So. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. Florida didn't finish with great points. So I do think Edmonton, Florida minus 165 on the series in that situation.
That would be the one. Yeah, Edmonton's like a couple more points. Josh, great job, man. Check out his work. Covers.com. We'll do it again soon. Thanks, Josh.
Appreciate it, guys.
Your college performance does not relate to the National Football League. It never
They
does.
played side by side
Yes.
with each other, and he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. That's an issue. That's a major issue.
It wasn't that he wasn't as good as Quinn
they've ever
Ewers.
got to Texas.
It wasn't that he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. It was Quinn Ewers' program, which Steve Sarkisian
Why
made
would it be
very
Quinn
clear
Ewers' program?
the entirety of the time that Arch Manning was in Austin. So for you to argue that because Ewers is a 7th-round pick, Arch Manning is not that good and not deserving of being first overall is asinine. It is wrong.
It is incorrect. I just told you he's going to be number 1 overall. My whole thing was I'm buying
you're doing
him
your thing now
I
when you
expect him to
double
have a
down on a
decent
tape
season. No, I'm
that
not
is
doing that.
incorrect
The
when I
best
show it's
quarterback
incorrect.
prospect to ever hit college football can't play
He's
over
not,
a 7th-round
there were
pick
two
who didn't even
perfectly
play
rated
good.
quarterback
Stop
recruits
it.
in the
Stop
history of
it.
the sport.
Quinn
Vince
Ewers couldn't
Young
even play at
and
Ohio
Quinn
State.
Ewers.
He couldn't even play at
Vince
Ohio
Young
State.
and Quinn Ewers. Go look it up.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live, Game Day on the Grid. 30 past hour number 2 of our 2-hour extravaganza. Again, thanks, Josh Ingles. Cover him. Check him out at covers.com. Good little website, covers.com. Cram Stewart coming up in about 10 minutes or so. Back to the board we go, Adam. Good news, as we found out during the break. The Atlanta Braves, remember we told them, grab them 4-1. They did, in fact, tie up Washington 7-7. They head to the bottom of the 9th inning. Still underdogs. Washington still favored at almost 2-1, minus 192. But if you're holding on to that 4-1 ticket, you can hedge right now. And if Washington doesn't score, that number will drop even more so. It'll probably get close to pick 'em, to tell you the truth. I'm a little surprised Washington's that big of a favorite in a 7-7 game, even though they are batting in the bottom of the ninth. Oh, they got a runner on second base. 1 out. It's locked. Our joy on the Braves tying it might not last too long.
Yeah, this is feeling eerily similar to what I went through earlier today with the Padres game that went south on me. I'm hoping they can find a way to get this game to extra innings, but obviously the pitching in this one has been, inconsistent at best. I will tell you, though, in the basketball game, which has been a game, it's a 1-point game. OKC is up in this one, still with 4.5 to go in the second quarter. But you're getting what you want out of Anthony Edwards here. He has 13 points, no one else with more than 8 on that side. So Ant is, the volume is there. He's 6 of 13. He's already taken as many shots as he did back in game 1 and has 13 points to match the total shots. On the other side, it's actually been a quiet start for SGA. He's stuck on 8 points. Chet Holmgren, who a lot of people were high on coming into this one, has 11 points, including 4 of 4 from the free throw line. You have 10 out of Jalen Williams and 7 off the bench for Alex Caruso, who a lot of people were looking at unders for. And obviously, he's off to a hot start. So shooting efficiency, that's what that comes down to. But right now, we are getting an entertaining game that I don't think anyone should be surprised by. I know I was laying it with OKC. You were taking the points with Minnesota. But in terms of a first half, this is what we said earlier. Expect something close, maybe even through three quarters. And then, in my mind anyway, OKC pulls away in the fourth. So the script, at least right now, is panning out.
Yeah, good little pace, too. As far as if you got the over, it's at 222.5 right now. We told you the pace was pretty good. You didn't get a lot of points in the first quarter, but it was the pace that I was impressed with. Up and down the court they were going. 6.5 and 222.5. So numbers, at least the 6.5, similar to what it was at 7.5, and then the over/under is up there a little bit. I have faith in AE. I was called for him to get 30 plus, right? 30, 35. So they're giving you 30.5 right now. With 13 points. I guess I would do that. Randall's got 2. You were dead on about him. His number's 13.5. Well, they really come down on him. And Gilchrist Alexander, you mentioned he's got 8. Giving you 27.5. I would be surprised. Out of all those, I think as much as I like AE tonight, I would take the Gilchrist out. Now it's down to 26.5. He's not getting 27 points when everything is said and done in a relatively high-scoring game. I like that one a lot, Adam. Give me him for over 26.5.
I'd go over on SGA as well. We were saying the same thing yesterday. It was halftime, he had 11 points, most of those at the free throw line. He was 7 of 9, I think it was at the time. And his total at that point was sitting at 27.5. And we're like, man, it seems a little high. Well, he had 11 points, but he's not shooting well, blah, blah, blah. And then he goes for, 20 plus points there in half number 2. I think 20 on the nose because he finished with 31 actually. So I just think that if they need him to, and we'll see what the score is obviously at that point, but if the game script dictates it, I think he is going to be out there and starting to try and take over this game offensively. Again, he's only taken 5 shots, Scott. We talk about Ant going, whatever for 6 of 13, whatever I said. SGA is 3 of 5 in 16 minutes so far. He's been more of a facilitator, has 4 assists, but I think the shot volume is going to pick up in half number 2.
All right. How about under? And I don't like playing unders in point totals, right? But you got Holmgren with 11 points. They're giving you 19.5.
Yep.
He's only scored 20 points twice in 11 games prior to tonight, this postseason. Average 15 this year. He's off to a great start, but I think eventually he's going to defer to Gilchrist Alexander. I might, you might convince a couple of shekels on the under 19.5 for Chet tonight. That's the one that jumps off the
I don't
page.
want to play it, especially as someone that's already on his over, which I think is 2 more points, and he'll get there. But I think you're right, though. If I was going to bet this now, I'd probably be looking for a middle. Because again, 4 of his points are at the free throw line, so it's not like he's shooting a ton or being super aggressive offensively in that way. I think that if in fact he sort of stays doing what he's doing and isn't aggressively getting to the free throw line, I think he probably does finish under 20 or under 19.5. So I think it's a good middle spot for anyone that invested in the over already. But for me, I'm just going to stay away and hope he gets the 2 more to cash my bet.
All right. How about I know this is going to sound crazy, but how about Rudy Gobert over 3.5? He has none.
I don't know.
He only scored 2 last game. I mean, he's got to get 4 points, right? I mean, he's had 4 points in every game this postseason except the last one, 1, 2, except 3 games out of what, 11? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, 11 games.
Yeah.
He's got to get 4 points. Even if they foul
it's not like
him,
he's only got 1 foul. It's not. It's not like he's in foul trouble. He's just got the 1. He's played 13 minutes, which other than Edwards and Randall, that's as many as anyone on that team right now. No, Gobert is, look, I'll chase Gobert rebounds like you read about, but in terms of points, I just don't want any part of it. It's not his game. Hasn't been in a little while. He's just not someone that is a consistent scoring presence in any way. I know what you're saying, like two layups off offensive rebounds or something like that. Like, how hard is that? It's not. It's not. It shouldn't be anyway for a guy his size. I don't trust him to get there. And like you said, in game 1, he had 2.
Yeah. Only has 2 shots, too. You know, if he was taking a bunch of shots, I'm still going to do it 3.5.
Right.
I mean, the guy's going to get 25 minutes tonight, right? I mean, if you in the NBA in 2025, if you play 25 minutes and you can't get 4 stinking points, I mean, being the tallest guy on the floor, oh, by the way, well, Holmgren probably is the tallest, but tallest guy
anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a try. Just back into one, accidentally, get fouled.
Yeah.
You know, way he shoots free throws, you'd have to get fouled 4 times because he can't, hit water if he fell out of a boat with his free throws. But at least Minnesota's hanging around.
Reed at 4. What's his number looking at? And by the way, SGA back-to-back buckets. He's at 12 now. But what's what's Naz Reed's point line at the moment?
Let's see. By the way, Gilchrist is at 30.5 now. 9.5 exactly. Yep. 9.5.
Yeah, I would go over. I'd go over on Naz Reed.
How about DiVincenzo? He's got 8. 13.5.
So
little juice. Minus 138.
Oh,
We're gonna make you pay the price.
Pretty good at this right now.
But,
all right. No, I would play over. Look, you're not going to play all these guys, obviously. Maybe Cam Stewart, our next guest, would. He's certainly a big volume guy. I would go over on Reed. I don't want to play DiVincenzo. He's already taken 6 shots. That includes 4 threes. Obviously he's a good shooter, so it wouldn't take much for him to get to 14. But if for some reason the shot volume doesn't follow him into half number 2, I don't want to be on the losing end of that.
All right. How about your guy? I saved them for last. It's down to 12.5 for Julius Randle. He's their second leading scorer. He's got 2 stinking points, only 5 shots. 12.5. He's not going to get 13 points in a must-win game or a pivotal game, big game, whatever you want to call it. I mean,
I don't want to do it. He's 1 for 5, but you got to remember, and I can look at it on the other side, but a lot of those points in that last game came off of 3-pointers. He hasn't hit any. Obviously, here in this one, he's only taken 1.
All right, more coming up.
Your college performance does not relate to the National Football League. It never does.
They played side by side with each other, and he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. That's an issue. That's a major issue.
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn
Ewers. Ever got
Ewers.
to Texas.
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. It was Quinn Ewers' program, which Steve Sarkisian made very clear the entirety of the time that Arch Manning was in Austin. So for you to argue that because Ewers is a 7th-round pick, Arch Manning is not that good and not deserving of being first overall is asinine. It is wrong. It is incorrect.
I told you he's going to be number 1 overall. My whole thing was I'm buying
you're doing your thing now where you double down on a take that is incorrect.
The best quarterback prospect to ever hit college football can't play
He's
over
not
a 7th-round pick.
There were 2
who didn't even
perfectly
play
rated
good.
quarterback recruits in the history of the sport.
Quinn Ewers couldn't even play at Ohio State. He couldn't even play at Ohio State.
Quinn Ewers. Go look it up.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the grid on this terrific Thursday. Scott and Adam, hour number 2, as we welcome in our good buddy Cam Stewart, who takes over with Gabe Morency at the top of the hour. SportsGrid Radio, SportsGrid TV. So we got a little baseball, we got the hockey, 3-0 Florida. Cam, we got a little NBA. Let's start with why don't we start with the puck? We got the golf, obviously. Start with the pucks. Surprise, Florida's up 3-0. Still late second period.
I am, Scott. I'm just sometimes stubborn. Some would say stupid, but I would just say I didn't think it was going to happen. Like, you turn on the TV and seconds into the game, Florida's up. It's like, Carolina, that's the last thing you can do in this situation is let these guys score. Then they score again and again. But remember, last night, Dallas came back and we had them plus 2.5. Did I have the Stones to take the money line? I had them originally in the game, but we bet it live with me and Gabe on SportsReg. And then we had Indiana last night. So, Scott, I don't think I'm going to get a miracle from Gambler 2 nights in a row to turn these disaster, what I thought were nights, into amazing nights. But tonight I'm getting, like, punched in the face. I'm on Carolina. I should have known better. Like, I don't know if these guys can come back. But Dallas did come back from 2. But I'm not sure Carolina is the same as the Dallas Stars. And the Florida Panthers are pretty damn good. 3.5 goals is minus 88 cents. I want to do it, but that's a lot of juice, Scott. It's a very expensive. That's like hand squeezed instead of Sunny D. That's expensive, like really expensive. Like that's at like the 5-star juice bar, $20 orange juice. No thanks. When I can get 5 jugs of Sunny D,
you know what
that's what I'm looking for. But I'm not going to find it.
That's the hotel. That's the hitting the mini
hotel juice bar.
Kind of stuff that you get right there.
In Canada, we call it the hundreds. Like, bring out the brown ones. You guys just hundreds, but yeah, we bring out the brown bills when things get stupid. But I really want to take Carolina, guys. Wow. So Oklahoma City, they win the first quarter. They win the first half. This is probably really bad news for Minnesota, because this is a team that even when they're up, and Gabe brought up a very good point on Sports Rage last night. Oklahoma City goes through these runs, guys, and next thing you know, you're down like 14. Like, you're in the game, you're up 3, and then that's what they do. So the fact that Minnesota's not leading by double digits isn't good. But Adam, I will play a prop with you guys. I am going to take Naz Reid. That's going to be the one guy I am going to take, and I will go over that. What was it, 8.5 live? He got 4 points? He's got 4? I think he can get to double digits.
9.5 live. If you were smart, and I'm talking to all you out there, viewers, listeners, Cam, Scott, everybody. Scott brought up when SGA was sitting at, what was he at? I don't even remember, 11 points, something like that. He said, would you play 27.5 and go over it? Yeah, 8 points. And guess what? He's at 19 at the half. Talk about a strong finish to the last couple minutes.
Good call by you, Wetzel. That's what he does. He gets to the line. The guy's a foul machine. Whatever he does, he just draws contact, and even if he's not shooting well, he'll get to the line and get points at the stripe. The guy, that's what happens with him, right? But if Minnesota's going to get back in the game, somebody on this team is going to have to step up. So you're looking at an attainable number. I don't want Randall at all, to be honest with you. Naz Reid is going to be the prop that I'm going to take. I'm going to live and die with him. I think he can get over, 9 points, 10 points? I think we can get there, Adam. I think we can get there. Hockey game, I want to take 3.5 with Carolina, but that juice is scaring me off. Baseball. Do we have anything left in baseball? I think we're almost done, aren't we?
Progress.
Pretty much. A couple games.
Why didn't we just bet the New York Liberty against the Chicago Sky and call it a night? Like, they're
Florida scored again.
I'm still praying on the Braves for sure.
4-0 Cats.
4-0.
Maybe I can get. Can I get 4.5 with Carolina? Are we going down this road?
Stan Bennett that time, huh? Or no, Verhage? I don't know. ESPN has been messed up throughout this game when it comes to this stuff. Did it come with 10 seconds left? 10 seconds left in the period they got that thing in?
Yeah.
I tell you, watching Carolina play Florida makes me feel better about the Leafs. Carolina sucks. These guys are honest to God. Like, what kind of performance is this? This is at home. This is embarrassing too. Like, what are these guys doing? They can't even score goals.
Yeah.
That really hurt though. And let's give Paul Maurice credit. They scored a goal, and he goes, that might have been offside. And even though Tkachuk touched the puck, which I thought he did, the referee didn't see it that way, and they took away that goal. 3-1 is a hell of a lot different than 3-0, and now 4-0. That could have been like the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah.
Yes, Scott. Yes.
They would get that wrong. It's 3-1, and Carolina's got the power play to really get back in.
Everything. It changed everything.
When's the last time we saw a team in the Stanley Cup final 3 years in a row? I mean, I know it's obviously far from unprecedented,
Islanders, right?
but like
Islanders?
since expansion and all of that, it's been a while.
Yeah, Edmonton Islanders, like wasn't it like back in those years? Nobody goes 3 years in a row.
I don't think Pittsburgh ever did, right? I don't think Pittsburgh ever went
they went 2 out of 3, but I don't think they went 3. Yeah, I don't think they went consecutive. Ding, ding, ding. I don't think so. We got to check that out. Like off the top of my head, I'm thinking no.
Wild.
But Florida's good, and Paul Maurice just proved like what a good coach. He could have just not paid attention. Yeah, 3-1 game. We're still leading, whatever. No, get on the video. But it could have been offside. Changed the whole facts of the game. Are we going to get into this ladies hockey league right now? Because I think that's the only thing I got left on the board. I don't know if the Minnesota Frost are live against the Ottawa Charge right now. But yeah, the
Liberty up 31. Ooh.
Yeah. Man, what happened with the Fever there? They were they were up and then down, and then they won. They didn't cover. They didn't cover though, did they?
No, I grabbed them when they were they were down early, like 12-4. I grabbed them to pick them. So
I think that line closed 5, and they won by 5. So depending on when you bet it. Wow.
Only 11 for Clark.
11? I had a parlay at 15. That's annoying.
See, Adam, those star players will get you every time. Don't worry, I got my own problems on the golf course, on the ice, everywhere. I don't know what to do. 4.5. 4. See on my book, it's plus 4.5 minus 260 for Carolina. No, I'm not that. No, I'm not that guy. You already got me. I'm already dead. I got 4 bullets in me. I'm not coming back for more. But what else we can do here, guys?
How's our golf plays doing?
Okay, our golf's doing good. Here's here's the problem here. Scotty Scheffler brings his C game today, and he's still 2 under. Okay, that's a concern. But now, if you like Scotty Scheffler in the tournament, you could start to think, what do I get this guy at now? But the books aren't going to do you any damn favors because he's plus 260 to win, and he's 5 shots back, and he was plus 240 at the start of the tournament. Watch out. I got a pick for you. I already have him at 40 to 1, but watch out for Bud Cauley, people. 25 to 1. Watch out for my boy, Bud Cauley. He's going to be in the mix on Sunday.
All right. Ham and Gabe, top of the hour. We'll wrap up the top deck. Thanks, Bill.
Your college performance does not relate to the National Football League. It never does.
They played side by side with each other, and he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. That's an issue. That's a major issue.
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers.
Ever got to Texas.
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. It was Quinn Ewers' program, which Steve Sarkisian made very clear the entirety of the time that Arch Manning was in Austin. So for you to argue that because Ewers is a 7th-round pick, Arch Manning is not that good and not deserving of being first overall is asinine. It is wrong. It is incorrect.
He's going to be number 1 overall. My whole thing was I'm buying
you're doing your thing now where you double down on a take that is incorrect.
The best quarterback prospect to ever hit college football can't play.
He's not so. There were 2 perfectly rated quarterback recruits in the history of the sport.
Quinn Ewers couldn't even play at Ohio State. He couldn't even play at Ohio State.
Quinn Ewers. Go look it up.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live, Game Day on the Grid. Scott and Adam filling in for Dave Sherpan. He'll be, again, Adam joining us tomorrow, which is always nice. It's always a lot of fun. Cam Stewart will join us tomorrow as well. He takes over along with Gabe, top of the hour. They'll take you over the next two, SportsGrid Radio, SportsGrid TV as well. So just a reminder, our 5 on the line, our number one trend, Minnesota over 20-5 third quarter. Third quarter is coming up. Last I checked, it was 54.5. So, you want to play that third quarter. Now's the time to put it in before they begin. So halfway decent. We got Florida in the 5 on the line. Looking good, 4-0. That's going to win more than likely. We got Sam Bennett, 2 shots on goal. He's got 2 already. That's going to win. Over 30.5 points SGA. That looks halfway decent. Under 8.5 Seattle. Adam and I both didn't think that was a smart bet. But we just do the trends. We don't kind of pick and choose. Just those were the best. And it was a limited amount of games tonight, so I had to throw something in there. So, But neither one of us really, Adam, liked the under in that game. But just the trend play. So 3-2, 5-2 now. Actually, Houston leading.
No, that one doesn't surprise me at all. We were. I think to our credit, if anyone tuned in earlier and listened, we were both pretty firmly on the opposite side of that, especially with McCullers starting. I think SGA, look, nothing's a lock, nothing's free, but, with that going from 8 to 19 in a blink to close out the half, he doesn't have too much more work to do to get himself to that 31. So I like the spot with him quite a bit. And it'll be, we'll be signing off, ready to sit and watch the third quarter and see if we can get to 55 plus points, hopefully.
Yeah. That's the beauty about in-game live. I mean, that's it, right? Right there. You get the ebb and flows of the games. In the end, he's going to get his 30-plus points. If he gets off to a slow start, great. You got yourself a 4, maybe 3, but we did. We put it in at 26.5. It wasn't there long because he had 2 quick buckets right after that. But, hopefully he gets at least to 27 than the original number. So I still think they're going to win or cover. Let's put it that way, Minnesota. I don't know about winning. Getting 10.5.
Well,
I do find it interesting.
That's what I was going to ask you.
7.5 point favorite, and they're only up in it to 10.5 with an 8-point lead.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say, and I thought Cam brought up the point off the air before he left. He said, would you lay it with OKC right now? And I said, I don't feel the need. I did it pregame, but the fact that it was 8.5 pregame, opened at 7, obviously, but it climbed, and then right now, as you said, we're looking at 10.5. The fact that I know we're halfway through the game, but it's not like you've tacked on 50% onto the spread. You're getting a little bit of a discount, I think, when you consider the Thunder are up by 8, and you only need that one more 3-pointer, basically. You just have to outscore them by 3 in the entire second half, and you cover that line. So honestly, I think 10.5 is still a good number right now. If it was 12.5, 13.5, I'd probably view it differently. But the fact that you've already got 8, you just need to go +3 in the second half. I think you're sitting in a good spot if you wanted to jump in.
Yeah. And listen, I haven't been able to watch a lot of the game. Obviously, we're doing our own show here, but I don't get the sense Minnesota is playing great tonight. Obviously, they're down 8, but we've seen a lot of 8-point games be no big deals. They're shooting only 41%. They turned the ball over 6 times, which isn't an exorbitant amount, but that's 12 turnovers on average. That's a lot of turnovers. You're getting nothing out of Randall, 2 stinking points. You get nothing out of Gobert. That's to be expected, but still, you got 2 starters combining for 2 points. It's really been AE, carrying the weight, 16 points like we've asked him to do, but how long can you continue that? So I don't have as much confidence. I still think they're going to cover. But I'm not encouraged by what we've seen first half out of that.
Yeah, a lot of stuff. There's, I think, a 7-2 edge when it comes to points conceded off turnovers that obviously OKC is benefiting from. So that contributes to the advantage here. But most of the categories, rebounds, fast break points, points in the paint, it's largely comparable. Your big discrepancy right now, Scott, and it really is kind of the story of the game. Look at the free throw column. Oklahoma City is 10 for 10. And so far, Minnesota is 1 for 1. One singular free throw attempt so far out of the Timberwolves in an entire first half. Now, I have no idea. Like you said, we're doing this show. I don't know how this game is being officiated, where the whistles go, and any of that stuff. But, that at least the number, looking at the jumps off the score sheet, is that 10-1 and says, hey, Chris Finch, tell your guys to get more aggressive in the second half and go to the hoop. Try and draw some fouls.
Yeah, they need something out of Randall second half. Otherwise, this is going to turn into another blowout like game number 1. All right, we need one more goal out of Florida, up 4-0 against Carolina. Hopefully, we get the fifth goal. I'm guessing Carolina will kill the goalie, even down 4 goals in the third. So, Adam, great job. We'll do it again tomorrow. Sam and Gabe coming up next. You're on SportsGrid.